Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the International Wildcard Invitational. Joining me, of course, for my last game, same as ever, Indiana Frostguard in black. And this game right here has a lot of implications. INTZ versus the Saigon Jokers, two teams, or INTZ rather, admittedly, kind of disappointing a little bit earlier in the tournament, but now doing very well in the last couple days of games and potentially looking at some pretty complex tiebreaker scenarios depending on how this breaks down. But overall, let's look at the game ahead. Who do you think is going to have the edge here?
The featured matchup for me is actually going to be in the jungle. We have effectively Revolta, who's going to be the star player of INTZ. Now going in, majority of people are saying Turkey and Brazil are the front runners for the wildcard regions. Obviously, two of the longest standing wildcard regions available. Brazil has always been a powerhouse for a long time. It's nice to see INTZ finally get the chance to represent their region as opposed to Keyed Stars or Pain Gaming or one of the likes. I know that they have a bunch of support behind them back home. Brazil, a fabulous region to watch. But it's Revolta versus Jinky. And Jinky is a very aggressive style jungler. Fish likes to call him kind of the counter punch to the sucker punch style the Saigon Jokers like to play. And both of these teams are very 5v5, very fight heavy and ready. But I do think that INTZ is just slightly more cerebral, slightly more about making macro plays, whereas Saigon Jokers is a bit more reactionary and kind of off-the-cuff performance.
And overall, I think that off-the-cuff style has cost them a little bit. While INTZ has maybe fallen flat a few times, Saigon Jokers has always looks in control until they make a really bad decision. And sometimes that reactive play style can punish them because they think these guys comes in, we might have an advantage, and the second they think they have an advantage, they're forcing a fight, and it doesn't always work out for them.
It kind of comes down to this idea of playing like really controlled League of Legends versus the likes of the Saigon Jokers, and not. They kind of remind me of the Bangkok Titans, in all honesty. This like really aggressive, fight-heavy style of team that we usually see come out of the Southeast Asia region. If you're a bit more controlled, if you're a bit more patient with them, they run out of options and they start to open themselves up to mistakes. And I think INTZ do have the pedigree where they can be a patient team, but they also do have that edge where they like to fight anyway. Hard engage is very strong in the Brazilian meta. If they fall into that trap, that's very scary against the likes of Saigon Jokers.
Additionally, looking at Revolta and the way that he likes to play as one of the star players, if not the star player of the team, he's a very proactive, more aggressive jungler, not looking necessarily to be reactive, wants control of his jungle, wants control of the enemy jungle. We've seen him dominate in his two performances on Nidalee, absolutely single-handedly carrying the game. However, I don't think he's going to get it this time around, and there's a big question mark as to the rest of his champion pool because the Kindred has been okay, but the team don't appear as comfortable playing around it, and Graves remains a power pick, and whoever gets it is always going to be a threat.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So then it kind of comes down to the rest of the team and the rest of the rosters across these two. If these two explosive junglers go off, frankly, Revolta's style is more so about supporting and facilitating his lanes, which of course, the jungler's there to facilitate the lanes. So the guy that's unlocked, that's able to gank all the lanes and try to get snowballs. But the thing is Revolta comes from a region where he doesn't have to be that primary playmaker in terms of put the carry pants on. He certainly can take all of the gold and try to build carry from there, but it's more about setting up his lanes for success, whereas Jinky is a bit more, I'm going to get the gold. I can make the carry. I can get the crazy outplay.
Yeah, and I think that's what we've seen. Of course, Gragas has also been one of those picks that has been incredibly popular in the tournament overall at pretty much every stage when those primary aggressive picks are off the table. But Jinky's one of the few who, when Graves or these other aggressive options are on the table, he'll take Gragas instead. And while it was surprising and while his performance isn't always on point, he has offered a lot of aggressive use of the explosive cask, which has allowed him to make insane plays. Yesterday in their games, I mean, knocking people out from turrets left and right, forcing huge advantages, and making the Saigon Jokers as a whole just look like this bloodthirsty, fearless lineup. And
unfortunately, Gragas really hasn't been a priority pick for a lot of these teams over the course of the tournament. It's mostly, like you said, been that Graves, been that Kindred, although I think Gragas offers an excellent counterplay to Kindred, because if you think you can blow everyone off the Lam's Respite. The thing that I want to talk about now is kind of the other side of the jungle duo matchup, and it's not necessarily the mid lane in this case, although the mid laners are obviously always going to be important. It's the support. Again, opening up this roam style, getting together with your support player, and you have Sue, and I'm totally going to Joxer.
Joxer, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And so the interesting thing I think about the bot lane here for INTZ is that while we've seen a lot of roaming supports, and Joxer has shown that he can be good, they prefer to stay together. They seem to like the duo roam action of the AD carry support as opposed to freeing up that support to roam with the jungler.
But the thing is both of these support players, which is why I want to bring them up, are also kind of the big other secondary enablers, which is fairly common. But Su in general is much more kind of like leading the charge. He likes to be the analytical one. He likes to make the plays. Jockster on the other side, we've seen his. Has he played Thresh yet?
Jockster? I don't think we've
his
seen
Thresh is like really well known in Brazil. Literally, there's a joke that says, "Oh, look, Thresh is playing Jockster again." And so I would love to see him like open up on a really playmaking support and get unlocked from the lane, because he has this reputation of being able to do that. And I think that this is what it comes down, like skirmishing against the actually, maybe I want to take that back. Do you really want to skirmish against the Saigon Jokers?
So here's a risk, and the other issue with that, unfortunately, is that Celebrity, or unfortunately for INTZ, Celebrity is discussing this with Soul Strikes and Carbon and the rest of the team behind the scene. It's like, we're pretty sure that Celebrity's the best AD carry in this tournament, and it's by a pretty decent margin. The man's Lucian is disgusting.
The weakest link on INTZ is the AD carry.
I mean, I don't know if... I think that is possible.
No, I definitely think it's possible.
I was going to say, I haven't sure, because I feel like I've seen some good performances from Macau and some bad performances.
He's strong. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad player. Like, everyone on the... Because this is the
yeah, it's the lineup that made it international wildcard. Everyone's going to be good at what they do.
I was going to say, like, the cream on top. Like, obviously, this is going to be the best players representing from a lot of these regions. So it's by no means saying that the AD carry is bad. But if there is a weak link, and there has to be, it is definitely in that position for INTZ.
In this game especially, because I think overall there's a potential that the mid lane can be weak as well. But Talkers, when he shows up, can be very good. Whereas Macau...
It's just such a swinging performance for me from Talkers. Like, sometimes it's really bizarre. Like, Revolta is a very smart jungler. You can actually like see that, where the pings will go down. You'll see that Revolta gets invaded. He's kind of their big enabler, so if he's put behind, the team really suffers and kind of crumbles around him. Typically, even if the lanes individually lose, Revolta will still have a fairly strong performance. But there'll be times when he'll get invaded where you'll see the assist ping come down, and Talkers just won't make the rotation to assist his jungler. And I wish that Revolta and Talkers were a bit more cohesive and a bit more on the same page in this tournament.
Well, cohesiveness or not, jungler's already the center of attention from both these teams. It's INTZ Esports versus the Saigon Jokers. Elise, Graves, and Kindred already banned out. Clearly both these teams not wanting to give anything to the opposing jungle.
I really like this. I like the fact that Graves was taken off the board. I'd like to see Nidalee also hit back. There we go. That means that Gragas is your big competing jungler.
Yeah, Gragas, we've seen it. We haven't really seen it from Revolta yet, but we've of course seen it from on the opposite side from Saigon Jokers. So we know that Saigon Jokers can be successful with that Gragas pick, and it still remains a relative question mark on the side of INTZ. Revolta, of course, pretty much good at everything he puts his hands on, but the carry junglers have been much more effective in this tournament.
He's also a phenomenal Lee Sin player, and with our champion pool shrinking so much in the jungle, and Gragas obviously looking great on Jinky, could see the possible Lee Sin.
Of course, Lucian now banned out as well. Celebrity. I mean, approaching celebrity status at this point is Lucian just... I think this is the second or third ban it's now seen in this tournament.
I think you just like his name.
I do. I think
Celebrity.
that's fantastic. It makes me laugh. It's so good.
Warzone is in.
Okay, so this is really interesting. Warzone is a man who played LeBlanc the last time he was here and really, really struggled to make an impact. But he's also not known as an assassin player. He tends to stick more towards those control mage picks. And if he's on the lineup, I think it means we're going to see maybe a little bit slower pace coming in here from Saigon Jokers.
Isn't there a fun stat that you have about Warzone where he has never won internationally?
He has never won, according to Fish, and double-checking, of course, with him
Our
shortly.
resident
Our
GPL
resident
expert.
GPL, yeah, completely. And he says that Warzone has never won a game on an international stage. The man not known for performing well in these situations. But Saigon Jokers obviously keeping faith in him, bringing him in for this match. And we'll have to see what pick he opts to go with. I think that's going to be the big question.
Ooh, a Sivir priority pick. Again, so much target focus on junglers, and the priority pick is not to the Gragas. So Revolta obviously very fine to say, no, take the Sivir, give more power away, or take more power away from Celebrity, and let's try to set up our bot lane for success rather than prioritize the limited champion pool that I have left.
It's a good idea overall, of course, and with Gragas and Lee Sin, potentially the other two picks remaining on the table. Doesn't really make sense to first pick prioritize one if you're comfortable with playing either side of that matchup. Or maybe he has something special up his sleeve. We talk about teams trying to hold back, wait for best of 5, but we've seen a lot of surprise power picks overall in this tournament.
It almost forces a Maokai in second rotation just because of how well Sivir and Maokai work together. Again, flanking teleport plays with the On the Hunt makes Maokai a very devastating champion. So I like the response from Saigon Jokers, and no expectation. Wow, that's not the word I wanted. No surprise that Gragas is also going to be the second pick.
Yeah, Jinky picking that one up for himself. Has praised him earlier for his aggressive Gragas performances, but he isn't always on the ball. Looks like he's pretty geared up and ready to go today, however. Maokai locked in, denied from the Sivir. But Lissandra, one of the power picks in this tournament that remains on the table. We'll have to see if that's something INTZ want to opt into. Maybe not a big lane bully, but such a huge playmaker may give the opportunity for talkers to shine in this tournament.
Will that be locked in?
I feel like the only time you want to talk about a hover over is if it's something really ridiculous.
That's certainly ridiculous.
But it's not like a Teemo or a Shaco or like the Cloud Templar hovers that Bang is famous for, right? It's like just on the borderline of possible. It's like it's available. You can get it. But the Alistar is going to be the confirmed lock-in, as well as the Poppy. So Alistar support, most likely Poppy in the top lane over there for Yang.
Massive disengage tools taken away, which is brilliant. Again, against the likes of Maokai, who's going to find that twisted advance, get on top of you, start denying a lot of damage. Poppy, Alistar, boom, get out.
Yeah, so much power too. And we've seen, as you said earlier today when we were talking about the differences between Poppy and Echo as top laners, the Poppy ult can be so valuable in team fights.
It pretty much also forces Jinky to prioritize Cask for disengage rather than a hard engage. Because if you have to think, Sivir's going to pop the On the Hunt. They're all going to run towards them, and the Cask, like, it's that split-second decision. If I don't like the team fight that I've now put into, I have to use it as a disengage rather than use it as an execute or a displacement for a solo kill.
We'll have to see how we can react to that kind of pressure. He's been very aggressive on the engages and not always consistent on the disengage. Moving forward, though, now Saigon Jokers looking at their second rotation. Really need to define their team comp here.
Wow. I didn't expect that one.
Kallista's still available. I actually completely forgot about the pick, usually seeing it frequently banned out this tournament. But it is going to be the Kallista and the Trundle picked up here. So Trundle may be going over the support position. Who knows in the barrage of flex picks we've seen come out over the course of this tournament. But the Kallista for sure the 80 carry in the hands of Celebrity, and you want to win a game early to mid game, that's an excellent pick to do it.
Yep, and again also showing the power that Celebrity's still able to have in this draft phase, despite the fact that Lucian and Sivir were picked away or denied.
I'm an avid Kha'Zix player, and I'm getting really excited about this hover over. But
only if he plays tank Kha'Zix.
Tank Kha'Zix.
Yes.
You're ruining Kha'Zix for me.
No, it's going to be the Lee Sin.
I mean, unlikely. I think it's been one of those picks that's been hovered over a lot of small changes to Kha'Zix.
He's got the CDR. I was talking to Spawn about this because like his CDR has been changed on the queue. He's able to do it a lot more often. If you play tank Kha'Zix, you get more rotations through your spells, as opposed to trying to jump in and blow someone up. And
no. I want the will kill people over and over again. Kha'Zix, I don't care if it's good. I want sweet Kha'Zix. I want action-packed Kha'Zix. But no such luck this time around. Lee Sin going to be picked up here for Revolta, as well as the Azir in the mid lane for Talkers. Strong late game scaling pick, but a lot of pressure for him to perform.
I just love doing that.
It's solid. I wonder what it sounds like on the Spanish client.
I thought about trying to do that with the
Yeah, I was like, there's no way we can make that good.
No, we're going to put that in the not good column. Okay, so the composition, you have so much disengage. You have great pick potential, a lot of hard engage potential. So INTZ have a very well-rounded composition. The one thing, though, is that Lee Sin or Revolta is going to be your primary bridge champion from early game into mid game. Again, Azir and Sivir are both going to be 3 core items before they hit their big power spike. Sivir gets a bit of a reprieve in that her mid-game power trough, because she's bridging or branching in between the Zeal item as well as the Essence Reaver to the Infinity Edge, possibly armor, depending on how far ahead the tanks get. She can augment her team with the On the Hunt, but otherwise, there's a bit of a power trough and a bit of a window for Saigon Jokers to really abuse INT's composition if they line their stars up.
Yeah, and they have a good opportunity to do so, especially with this final Varus picked up for Warzone. It's not the Assassin. It is going to be something a little more controlling, a little more lane.
Right in that mid game, right between the 3 item power spike of Azir and Sivir, right in that window.
Got the raw power, and especially with that Trundle Callista bottom lane as well, you got a lot of opportunities to make some great plays here on the side of Gone Jokers. They've got everything they want for their style of team fighting, but if INTZ manage to take this late, their comp looks nearly unstoppable.
It definitely has a lot of scaling potential, but never underestimate the power of Callista, Trundle, Maokai late. Like, the pick potential there, the disengage, the Rind power. I mean, Callista's still phenomenal late game.
Yeah, maybe not the best at killing those tanks, but very good at killing Azirs. Very good at killing Sivers, of course, not really reliable to try to spell shield out that Rend.
A big thing of how teams fight against Sivir is making sure that they're not stacking together, especially late game, to give her so much power through her Ricochet and being able to crit multiple members with bounces. So it creates this very interesting dynamic of spreading out, which you have potential there with Trundle, as well as the range and reach of Varus.
Yeah, good opportunity for setup. Varus, of course, can initiate, start those fights. Trundle can make it easier to land those skill shots as well with that Pillar of Ice. Looking at this game, I mean, it seems like you've got two pretty powerful bottom lanes. Do you think we're going to see standard lanes here from both these teams?
Powerful in what way? You have an Alistar on one of them.
Yeah, Alistar Sivir. I feel like that's like Sivir's just going to push out, right? But at the end of the day, Trundle Callista seems pretty strong.
Yeah, that one's pretty ridiculous. But Alistar kind of walks into a lane. He's like, "This is sweet. I'll see you at level 3, boys."
I guess you're right. The young triumphant roar, not quite the best option for early spells, but one that's kind of you're forced to take out in these elongated lanes.
Of course, the joke always is that whenever you're laning against Sivir, you're not actually laning against Sivir, you're laning against creeps.
Pretty accurate, if there's anything we've learned from Ricochet and pushing that, endlessly pushing in those towers. So
I would like to see a lane swap. I'd like to see a lane swap because it also isolates the mid lane. And if they are able to take down the tower and get a small window where they can kind of walk into Fog of War and get a gank, Varus is fairly easy to gank. We'll also see what Azir decided to go for his Summoner spell. We've seen a lot of teleport Azirs this tournament. Typically against the likes of Varus, you have to take Cleanse, though.
Yeah, pretty rough, obviously, to force out to take that cleanse. But, yeah, I mean, you completely have to take that Summoner spell. We've seen what happens when, with these hard engaged champions, maybe Varus with the ultimate, Lysandra with the ultimate, what happens when you do not have that as an option for escape. Because with so many high damage junglers, or in this case, a Gragas who can just cask you right back in, or a Lee Sin who can kick you right back out, I mean, you've got a lot of opportunity to set up these plays to shut down this mid lane. And I think mid lane may be the center of attention here because if the Varus gets ahead, it's pretty tough for Azir to do much of anything.
I feel like it's actually just going to be neutralized, but there definitely is kill pressure either way. I'm going to agree with that one. But it looks like we finally got into game.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. INTZ on the blue side, Saigon Jokers on the red, gearing up for potentially our last game of the day as we look forward. Bottom lane already moving in. The Trundle spotting out that ward. Celebrity, one of the people we have to keep our eyes on. Good old Revolta getting aggressive. But no one trading too many blows yet. Vision already putting down into the jungle at least a little bit. It looks like we may have that lane swap as you called out.
That said, it's not going to be a blind lane swap. So the fact that Yang has shown himself, Saigon Jokers understand exactly where the top laner is. Naturally, he could walk back into the mid lane and teleport wherever he wants. But looks like everyone goes into this knowing that it's going to be standard lanes and is perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, throwing down the Vision for the option to lane swap, but still deciding for the 2v2. Not quite having enough information, I guess, to really push for anything further. And Sivir and Alistar, it's time to push. Time for Callista to lane against those creeps. We'll see how she fares.
They're actually looking for a delayed invade, so trying to catch out Celebrity and Sue on the Gromp. But a cheeky ward means that Sue could get behind them.
Oh. Callista's just going to throw out an auto attack here. Maybe another one on the way back to lane. So small health advantage, but nothing too substantial. Both mid laners remaining relatively calm here. Only level 1, just not enough tools to really fight each other quite yet.
Again, Varus kind of counts as a counter to Azir. A lot of mid laners will like to take him just because he's one of the few champions that will outrange Azir. A lot of CDR important in his build.
Okay, Jinky just now hitting level 2, and now going to have to fight this Lee Sin. Is going in, Revolta, no fear, Smite going down on the red buff to try to find health, but Jinky has to be careful. Cast going down, may have to flash out of this one, not going to use it. Revolta going to settle for the secondary prize and secure that red buff for himself.
Great play from Revolta. This is what we actually expect from the star jungler coming out of Brazil. He's the maestro, if you will, for his team. So anytime Revolta is set up for success, it pretty much means that INTZ are sure to follow.
Yeah, doing very well already, making sure to shut down this Gragas, limit his ability to farm. And, you know, you talked about Lee Sin as this early to mid bridge champion, and clearly Revolta is trying to make the most out of this early game.
Checking in on everyone else, though, pretty standard across the board, so it's really just the jungle that's suffering this featured matchup again between Jinky and Revolta, and it looks like they're going to meet again, but this time with Talkers.
INTZ so proactive this time around. Jockster there as well. Making sure that Jinky's not going to get much of anything in this exchange. Smite is available, though.
It's really starting to bleed in. The reason that they're able to do this is we talked about Sivir and Alisher being able to get the push, but here
Saigon
comes the
Jokers
pillar.
want the fight. Revolta's going to have to flash out. His flash is traded. They're moving in. Revolta taking so much damage. Celebrity punted back. Primera Sangre, though, going over to the Varus. He will drop in the end. Macau getting knocked down as well. This is the kind of fighting that Saigon Jokers love to do, and Jockster could be next on the menu. Gragas waiting for the cooldown on that body slam. Going to get pushed back. Headbutt pulverized, trying to make it to safety, but he's accepted his fate. And Saigon Jokers, massive exchange there, 1 for 3.
Disaster for Brazil right here. Like you said, this is where the Saigon Jokers are comfortable in reactionary play. They make a beautiful collapse mid and bot lane rotating respectively, and a great play from Sue.
Just so solid overall. Celebrity getting in, getting aggressive. Unfortunately, Joshua kind of fumbling on the headbutt to knock Celebrity out. He will still go down at the end of the day, but Saigon Joker's getting everything they wanted, and while Gragas may have been scared earlier, he's probably feeling a lot more confident as he's now finally able to secure that blue buff.
Now, he was also one of the primary beneficiaries. Wow, I can't speak today. Thank goodness I'm not a shoutcaster. As well as Varus in that mid lane, 2-0-1. And 1-0-2 on the mid laner and jungler, respectively. And like you said, any deficit that was created in that early game has pretty much been compensated for.
Yeah, and exactly the situation. We talked about mid lane mostly being neutralized by both sides wanting to just farm out. But Varus has 2 kills now, and I feel like that may change the flow of mid lane, as not only has he picked up the tier, but the Caulfield's Warhammer as well.
That's pretty massive, which means that Talkers is going to have a pretty bad time in that lane. Just needs to hang on and farm it up.
Additionally, Macau taking a lot of damage here. Boomerang Blade, though, going to make that trade back in his favor as Celebrity tanks the full damage on that one.
Cute little Thunderlord's Alistair coming up. So you saw the interaction on that Keystone. It's cute because the Trample passive from Alistair can proc that.
Interesting option. Maybe just a little bit more aggressive here in the bot
lane.
lane.
No, I love it.
Decent amount of damage. Talkers trading actually pretty well, but it's blue buff versus red buff here in the mid lane. Warzone picking that one off during the fight. Talkers donated his from his jungler. Oh, man, Varus is so oppressive. Those Qs landing, making sure that he can dish out as much damage as possible, and Azir's going to need to heal up if he wants to stay comfortable in this lane.
Warzone getting pretty cheeky, though, firing from Fog of War.
Hitting this mark, too. That's about a third of Azir's health down. Finally hitting level 6. A little bit of health gained off that level up, but has to be careful as they move forward, especially once Azir hits that level 6. Cleanse not available for Talkers for at least another minute, it looks like. So, you know, could be in a tough spot here if Gragas makes his way into that mid lane.
Oh, definitely. Checking in on other itemization, though, we do have the recurve bow picked up for Celebrity, so he will be returning to that lane with a bit of a power spike, but check out where Revolta's standing.
He wants it. He's hungry for blood. Looking for an opportunity to shut down this spot lane. Jaw's theme seems to be the only appropriate action here. Celebrity only level 3. Headbutt pulverized. Here comes the level 3. There's that Thunderlord you love so much, and Celebrity's starting to hate it. He's going to get dropped in an instant. The Trundle's running for his life. Gragas is on his way to try to save the day. The Pillar keeping him safe. Casking off for the disengage, but INTZ with a clean kill.
Though.
Does he? Oh, Lee Sin still chasing, going further in. Volta, has he overstayed his welcome? Just going to hop back to Jockster.
But you have to know that that's coming. The fact that Celebrity and Sue burned both their flashes in the previous jungle skirmish meant that they were easy picking, so good job from Revolta to recognize where his team could make plays on the map.
Yeah, once again, the proactive play we've come to expect from him. We've come to expect from both junglers, quite honestly. So Revolta getting a bigger advantage over to Sivir here. 2-1 now her scoreline. 53 farm to 25. What did I miss? When did that happen? That is a 30 CS discrepancy.
Okay, so reminder, who got the early rotation on the initial jungle skirmish? It was Alistair and Sivir using that pushing advantage. They rotated over. Yes, there was a good collapse from Celebrity and Sue to pick up some assists on the back half, but they've spent so much time being abused or out of this lane that she hasn't gotten to farm it up, and that's why you see that discrepancy.
It's a pretty massive discrepancy, too. That's Longsword, BF Sword, Cole, Doran's Blade versus simply a Recurve and a Doran's Blade. Kalista may be able to trade okay.
Let me shorthand this for you. Sivir's real big right now, and Kalista's real not.
Real not.
Real not.
Celebrity trying to get big. One creep at a time here, unfortunately, as he starts to suffer a little bit in this bottom lane. Sivir not getting too aggressive yet, as the tanks, they're living in their island. They're trading blows back and forth. Yang.
You don't have any mana, buddy.
That's pretty rough. There comes the ultimate from Poppy. Maybe he's going to look to chase this one. Flash back to try to knock this up. Gragas is on the way, though, so Rogue may be able to make it out. Suddenly, the Poppy's in enemy territory, and it's looking a little bit rough, but Maokai has to be careful on this one. Yang running to safety. Kalista on the way as well. I don't think Yang's going to make it out. Varus looking to collapse. Poppy doesn't have the flash earlier either. Does have the TP.
Well, ITZ have just left Saving Private Yang to his own devices. They're collapsing onto the dragon. Azir's like, I'm not rotating for that.
They're giving up. Nope, they're not giving up. Celebrity trying to get aggressive here. He's running forward. Yang's going to go down, but so much time wasted. It's the wall bang. Not going to get any more. It's a little slow. Poppy's going to drop. Meanwhile, INTZ have 3 members on the bot side and are descending rapidly on this bottom lane turret.
Yeah, they're looking for the objective. It looked like it was going to be the dragon, but like you said, could possibly look for a tier 1 tower. They're standing and they're waiting for Trundle to walk in and to find someone caught out. Here we go.
Talker's ready. Hungry, a little bit hungry for blood here. Level 8.
TP is available for Ro. He is alive, whereas Yang is dead. So the top winner from Saigon Jokers can be available.
Revolta, level 6, ready to use that Dragon's Rage to kick in here. No TPs quite yet as the wave crashes into the turret. Macau actually zoning out as Revolta is focusing down this tower. Varus does have ultimate though. Sue waiting to use that pillar. Will be off cooldown in just a moment. Poppy now heading up to top to grab some farm, but no engage on either side.
And frankly, nothing gained. Good chip damage from INTZ as Revolta's now caught.
Has going to have to ward hop his way to safety there. Has to be careful. Has to respect the explosive cask. Thought about protecting that pink ward, but now just backing away as Celebrity continues to farm up. Macau putting so much pressure down, but doesn't have the tools anymore to dive out this tower, which means that Kalista should just be good to farm up here.
Still have to underline, the only thing really gained off of Yang's crazy journey was a CS advantage on Sivir. It's now opened up to about 40, 80 to 43 between those two.
Yep, and of course it means a little bit less CS for the Poppy, but the difference between 10 CS in the top lane and the 40 CS differential here in the bot lane is absolutely massive. Sivir,
real big, real not.
Yeah, pretty much. I think there's not really any better way to explain it, but Gragas may be hoping to balance this out. Size his 80 carry up a little bit. Revolta more than comfortable to deny that opportunity. Neither jungler knows the other is there yet. Joxer potentially in trouble. Doesn't have level 6. No options to go in. Here comes the Gragas. Here comes the Lee Sin. You have to watch that Dragon's Rage. Great disengage. Fate's Call pulling him to safety. Macau potentially in trouble. TP coming in. Joxer so low. It is going to get canceled out by the Poppy on the top side of the map. Great stop there from Yang, but INTZ barely making it out of that one alive.
It was the belly bop CC that really saved Saigon Jokers right there as Miko now caught.
Sue not done yet, but unfortunately he may have wanted to. Lee Sin looking for blood here, gonna flash in. There's the Sonic Wave, the resonating strike, and the kill drops in the favor of INTZ.
Just frankly greedy from the Saigon Jokers. You had already won the engagement, so why look for more? As now in the top lane.
Made a play on the bottom. It's time to replicate it on the top. Here comes the Azir, hungry for blood. Ro trying to find his way to safety. He's gonna get the kill. What a fumble here from INTZ. Talker's way too late to the party. Will make it a 1-for-1. INTZ still find advantage, but what a fumble.
I like the mentality here from INTZ to try to make more plays around the map, especially because Warzone has such a strong advantage in the mid lane with the item, with the early kills picked up and the item advantage. But just slightly miscommunicated, a little bit poor execution of just not waiting for Azir to appear on the top side.
Yeah, overall maybe not the best, but despite the item advantage that Varus picked up, there's still about a 10 CS lead given over to Azir, in addition to now 1 kill. So, few options there. Of course, Nash's Tooth coming out, fully finished up, whereas Varus still working with bits and pieces here. Now finishing the Man Immune when he finally gets the chance to back.
Checking quickly in on the map right now, we do have a bit of an organic lead coming out of INTZ. Again, this was just frankly won in the jungle and transferred into the lanes. Saigon Jokers have done well in kind of their signature reactionary collapsing plays, but we'll see if Jinky can keep up with Revolta and with INTZ's more cerebral and cleaner macro movements.
ITZ looking to keep that status quo going as the macro movements have offered them an opportunity on the top side. Dragon's Rage to kick him out. Row, no hope left as he's starting to burn down. The tree's going to drop top tower next on the list.
And this is what we were talking about. Jinky slow to the rotation. You see that Gragas is on the top side, but not able to get there in time for the tree. And more importantly, Warzone, with such an early advantage, hasn't left that mid lane. Not spreading around his wealth.
Yeah, and slowly actually continuing to fall behind in CS. Revolt. Little mind game there. Quick hop in, hop back. Don't let him know what you're thinking as Jinky does opt to back off here. He's going to have to use the explosive cast to disengage. Still a few hits going down onto the tower as Jockster will ult to keep himself safe. ITZ continuing to grow their advantage. Now 3K gold in the lead.
Sue's looking for something, but there's no way.
Perpetually thirsty for action here as he's moving in now using level 6 to subjugate. Revolta knows better than to take that fight and is just going to back off here.
We'll see if the Saigon Jokers can get anything out of this. Obviously moving their duo to the top side of the map. Still a pretty sizable CS discrepancy between the 80 carries, as now the top laners are getting in on the action.
Look at this. It's a fight. Poppy's going to cast some spells. Maokai's going to cast some spells. No one's going to drop quite yet. Yang at this minor level discrepancy, but still trading incredibly well. Looking back at the mid lane, we talked about Varus being ahead, and he may still be dishing out a lot of damage, but Azir continuing to grow that CS advantage, 142 to 115 in the mid lane.
Which really just compensates for the 2 free kills that Varus got early. Still waiting on the big 3-item power spike to come out for Azir. He's going to scale into late game, whereas Varus is really coming into his own now. Still needs to complete the Yomo's Ghostblade, but pretty comfortable.
Yeah, definitely looking that way. Starting to clear out this wave. Actually opting to hit Macau
nicely
instead
done.
of clearing the wave. Here comes Jockster. Varus going to flash. Going to miss the Pulverize, unfortunately. Now locked up under the tower. Doesn't have Unbreakable Will from that previous play. Is actually going to make it out. No, the tower's going to take him down. What a fumble once again from INTZ.
Again, but you see the mentality and the execution about why they're there. Okay, we've taken the 2 outer towers. We're now going to look at the last standing outer tower, which is going to be that mid lane. So
doing well.
They're playing the correct area of the map, just not quite the cleanest execution that they need.
And it's been a struggle for INTZ throughout the course of this tournament, and they've been looking better and better as we've moved forward, but maybe not where they want to be. Revolta trying to make it out. Could be in trouble. Emperor's Divide jumping back to Talkers to safety. Revolta barely making it out with his life.
Yeah, that was massive. Getting out from underneath the cask as well. The cask not thrown, but the flash was done, so great Emperor's Divide from Talkers to save his jungler's life, as well as probably his own.
Really rough. Of course, Jinky's starting to play much more aggressive. 2-0-2 his scoreline. Has finished that Rune Glaive. Dishing out a decent amount of damage at this stage of the game, and looking more and more comfortable as we push forward. Clearly, Saigon Jokers know that they're that mid-game team, and they just want to fight.
Want to continue to be reactive to INTZ. So see where they're going to set the pace next. The Dragon objective is up, as well as that mid-tier tower has a ton of chip damage onto it. They seemed keen to break it before, as Sivir's rushing back down that mid lane, so we'll see if they continue to consolidate farm between Azir and Sivir in the hopes of sieging that objective.
Definitely an option as they push forward. Of course, still a 3K gold lead just about for INTZ. Jockster getting stunned up here. Gragas going to get locked up as well, but here comes Talkers looking for a fight. Yang on the side. Flash, going to knock him. Not going to find the wall, though, as they start to back up. There's the Poppy ultimate used, and INTZ immediately backing off.
Yang, very aggressive. Unfortunately, doesn't find the stun on the end of the heroic charge. But I like to see him pull out his pocket Poppy. He's normally a carry-oriented top laner, but is very comfortable on this Bruiser champion, as with all of the aggression, they will finally push that last outer down.
Yep, continuing to maintain that gold lead at a little more than 3K now. Start to push forward. Azir setting up a turret of his own just to make sure he's safe to push out this lane, and Revolta always trying to find greater advantages, but I feel like Sue is more than happy to just to walk in there and shut him down every time.
No, completely agree, but with the advantage in the mid lane, it means that they get in, they get to cheat back through the river, get the edge on this dragon positioning.
This is, of course, going to be the first dragon of the game, relatively late by the standards we've set up today, but INTZ going to secure it with ease. First dragon of the game. Probably not looking for a 5-dragon win con, but more than happy to have that small scaling addition to their AD and AP.
Now it comes down to quickly resetting positions, spending your global gold that you acquired by taking down the last standing outer, and then prepping side waves. You see that the assist ping goes down onto the Rift Herald. They still have quite a sizable window to take that one down. And then it's a question of where does this Rift Herald be used and which inner is it going to siege? Are they going to give it to the jungler just to quickly continue to farm up his levels and his power? Are they going to give it to the AD carry and maybe put it into the top lane?
A lot of options here on the side of INTZ. The flexibility to execute how they want, as they have a pretty sizable lead. Saigon Joker's not quite so fortunate as the Kalista. Still trying to catch up in here in farm. Doing okay. Once a 40 CS discrepancy, now down to only 20. INTZ setting their sights on the top lane on that Rift Herald that they pinged out earlier.
Saigon Jokers, though, also walking into the river. You do have the completed Hurricane for Kalista, like you said. Shored up that CS discrepancy. Bit stronger this time around, but still looking on that major 2-item power spike before Celebrity's are really going to be comfortable in these 5v5s.
Definitely needs to be, as we've talked about, one of the star players on the Saigon Jokers lineup. Really not the guy you want to be behind, but Macau may have overstayed his welcome. Quick trade of cooldowns, though, and Sivir gets to use on the, or has to use on the hunt much earlier than she probably wanted to.
But the thing is Sivir's up there setting up the top wave, so it tells me that INTZ want to move this Rift Herald and continue to siege the inner top tower. Lars
hoping to steal this. Not going to get the opportunity to. Somebody there to back him up. A lot of team posturing potentially for an engage, but both sides are going to back up Rift Herald over to INTZ.
See how he uses the increased movement speed as well as empowered recall to continue to farm his jungle, or if he's going to move it into any sort of lane. Can move it into the mid lane right now to try to neutralize this siege.
Definitely an option. Is going to do so, it looks like. Setting his sights instead on the Raptor camp.
There are no Raptors. Are there?
He's there.
They must have just spawned. I didn't see them on his map.
Yep. Just in time for him to get there, making sure that even if he's there to defend mid lane, he still has the option to pick up some farm along the way. Ro getting a little bit more confident in these trades. Still, at the end of the day, going to be that tank fight. The wet noodles slapping each other back and forth.
They're collapsing on bottom quite quickly. Nope. Now they've decided to back off because it was a smart read by Ro. Knowing that Lee Sin was on his way down, doesn't want to mess with the Poppy anymore, disengages.
Pulling the way back in his creeps, making sure that he can push out relatively safely. INTZ using that opportunity to back out here. Warzone continuing to push the mid lane. Staying about 20 CS behind, though, so Talker's doing very well to keep up that advantage and now has 2 items. Not quite the 3-item spike we talk about, where Azir really starts to become very oppressive.
It's where Azir starts to do a lot of his damage, but right now with the Nashor's Tooth as well as the Rylai's, he has so much utility built into his kit, because naturally those Sand Soldiers can proc your Rylai slow.
Yeah, and of course the buffs to Rylai's this season have been very favorable for Azir. Moving forward, Ro having to leave his own jungle as once again INTZ collapsing on the bottom side. Top side, Celebrity continuing to farm up, now faced with the Poppy from Yang, making sure he can't take it any further. And blue buff secured by INTZ.
They do have a numbers advantage on this bottom side of the map as well as the creep wave control, so see if they're going to snowball this or move it over to this bottom side tower.
Not quite looking to force that one down. Saigon Jokers, we praise them as being a responsive team, a reactive team, and they're being exactly where they need to be to stop any further pressure.
But this is also what we wanted to see from INTZ. You know, cleaned up their early game, no longer looking for these very risky skirmishes, playing a very patient, cerebral, pretty much playing the map and not the Saigon Jokers, which I think is exactly how you beat such a bloodthirsty and reactionary base team.
Definitely, although Revolta may be hungry for blood of his own. Hovering over that wall, waiting for the kick.
They have control of both the mid and the bottom wave and really deep triangle vision through pink wards.
Oh, Poppy. That's the flash wallbang from behind, instantly grabbing that one. Moving forward, though, Talker's potentially in trouble. Excellent Emperor's Divide, and suddenly Saigon Jokers are all in the funnel. Alistar looking for an opportunity to go in. Yang getting pushed back. Pull back on the Fate's Call, thrown right back in, but Gragas is going to drop as well. Massive team fight for INTZ, moving into the tower. Ro is kicked back. That's the double kill for Sivir, looking to make it a triple as Toxter tanks up the tower, and he's going to drop as well. Double for Lee Sin, double for the Sivir, and massive fight for INTZ.
Beautifully orchestrated from INTZ. What I was just about to point out as they're now marching towards the Baron after that ace is that they took so much time to move into the blue buff of Saigon Jokers and to place really deep triangle vision, but they did so with pink wards to make sure that they kept Saigon Jokers blind and then manipulated the side waves, the bottom wave as well as the mid lane, trying to catch the Saigon Jokers cheating through their own jungle and find a pick. Saigon Jokers smartly didn't walk into the fog of war, but it meant that they were slow on the rotation to come over and to assist their mid laner when he was dove by Poppy from behind.
And an excellent dive coming in from Yang. Confidence there as well, and Revolta standing so patient to be ready to respond. So INTZ, knowing they have the advantage, taking advantage of that fog of war, making sure that Saigon Jokers are just forced to play scared here.
It's just really nice because that was a play that was set up about 45 seconds to a minute in advance. And this is, again, we know that INTZ have the ability to play a very cerebral, very clinical and slow-paced game. And I like the fact that slow it down, but stop skirmishing them. Yeah, that looked like a very crazy, over-the-top, chaotic tower dive, but it was so methodical and set up for success from the beginning.
Yeah, and of course, netting them an ace. Pretty great place to be as they now extend that gold lead to about 8K. Doing incredibly well this game. Saigon Jokers have to be hurting. Definitely need to make some proactive plays. Need to be careful about what they give up because the Azir is starting to scale up, the Sivir is starting to scale up, and the gold lead only continues to grow on the side of INTZ. Now setting their sights on this dragon. This will, of course, be the second one over to INTZ. A little bit easier now to take down that tower for Azir in the middle lane.
They're teleporting in. They're looking for Celebrity.
Warzone, a little over-aggressive.
Nope,
Push back. Gragas not going to get the opportunity. Now Jockster in the backside. Headbutt pull. More than happy to grab that kill for himself. Revolta pushing forward. That's the Gragas down. And with 2 members dropped, the inhibitor should be next to follow in the favor of INTZ.
Just getting behind them with the TP, and unfortunately there is no response from the Saigon Jokers. Their base will melt. It's now a question of what is all INTZ going to take. Will it stop at the inhibitor, or will they continue to push?
It's like they're going to play this one patient, not wanting to give anything up. This is one of their last opportunities to do well, and of course the regular stage, and really sending a message before they move on to the bracket stage that it's not a team you want to mess with, and when they're playing their game, they play it very well.
The nice thing is that they've shown versatility and flexibility in both of their styles, as though Yang is caught out.
Nope, Yang, gonna knock him to the wall, looking for the Poppy disengage, throwing the Callista back, may just be able to make it to safety here as he moves forward, but Rose not letting him go quite so easily. Here comes the Trundle Pillar as well to lock him down, but the remaining members of the team are on the way. Gonna dash to the minion to try to make it to Savvy. Jockster and Revolta are here. Yang making it out.
Good use of the heroic charge to make sure that Yang gets out safely.
Solid individual play overall, and clearly Saigon Joker's hungry to get that kill, hungry to find a little advantage, but just don't quite have the damage to burn through that Poppy. Despite the 0-3-5 record, clearly the beneficiary of so much global gold has both the Iceborne Gauntlet and the Sunfire Cape. Almost impossible for that Callista to kill at this stage of the game.
And this is what we expect from Brazil. Such an established wildcard region. They have great infrastructure, very powerful teams. It's a very stacked league. Again, we talked about how...
Oh, flash engage from the Bars. Clean's going to be burned out as well as he tries to make it to Savvy. Talkers is doing so much damage with these soldiers. Fate's Call used up. They're not getting anything. Trundle going to have to flash out. Fight breaks off, and Brazil, not only are they an established wildcard region, they continue to establish a 12K gold lead.
I was going to say, there's no reason this should just be a free inhibitor. I don't think they're going to go aggressive there, but...
Burning
Saigon
all their
Jokers.
cooldowns. I mean, Saigon Jokers realistically can't contest at this point as Poppy goes in. Gonna knock the Gragas right into that wall, burning through his health so quickly. Second inhibitor going to get knocked down. Favor of INTZ. Oh, Talkers not quite getting the Azir sec, but we'll make sure that that is in their favor. Ooh, excellent Zanyas to deny that Maokai's entry into the fight. Now could potentially be in trouble as Revolta's starting to get burned down, thrown back into the tower. INTZ still doing incredibly well in the team fight as Macau and Talkers are safe. Saigon Jokers are hungry for more as they push forward. Callista dishing a decent amount of damage. Yang going to knock the Gragas back. Now looking to turn the fight. He will eventually retreat. INTZ using that Azir tower to retreat to safety.
But they get what they came for. In the end, after all is said and done with that Baron, it's going to be 2 inhibitors as well as a ton of free kills for the side of INTZ, and they are running away with this gold lead. They did get the, what Rusty likes to call the Baron inhibitor, the one opposite the Baron pit, so should this game go to a second Baron, they have great pressure points to play on the map and to make sure that INTZ have some tough, or excuse me, Saigon Jokers have some tough choices to make.
I think all the choices are tough for Saigon Jokers at this stage of the game. Everything feels so weighted against them. The 12K gold lead, the 2 inhibitors down, the mounting pressure on the map and on their team as a whole. Really felt confident coming into today and looking a little bit caught out or out of sorts in general. 13-8. The kills are so close, but the gold is just so massively in favor of INTZ.
Because again, it comes down to INTZ prioritizing playing the map versus playing the Saigon Jokers.
Working out very well for them. Revolta, rest of the team. This is a terrifying trio to run into.
Yeah, and Revolta living up to his Lee Sin expectations. 4, 2, and 7 has been putting on a dominant performance and is now looking for more.
Looking back, of course.
Oh, he wants it.
Yeah, he wants that kick. He's looking for blood here, and Warzone has to respect it because the Lee Sin is just so strong. Super creeps pushing in on the bottom side. Someone is going to have to respond to those, and it means that INTZ will get this tower uncontested. This is the last bastion for Saigon Jokers on this inhibitor tower.
They have to fight here. They cannot afford to lose another inhibitor. They have a small reprieve where the creep wave has spawned in front of their Nexus tower, so they're not immediately concerned with the super creep wave, but the next one, surely, they need to pull the trigger.
Volta taking a little bit of damage, but not enough to make a huge difference. Has the Sterix gauge in addition to the Dead Man's Plate, so that's pretty tanky for him. Yang looking for the flank. They know that Saigon Jokers has to fight here. They're ready to punish if they do. Poppy going to knock the Trundle out. This is their opportunity. They're just going to burn down the tower. The arrow from Varus misses, but Saigon Jokers take the fight anyway. Macau's blown up in an instant. Great start for Saigon Jokers, but Revolta is kicking them back, and Talkers is doing his best to dish out damage, but INTZ appear to be falling in the fight. They've overstayed their welcome. Revolta next to fall. Yang could be on the menu as well as they push in. Su making it back from that initial Poppy disengage as they push forward. Azir now dishing out some damage as well, and a bit of a fumble from INTZ.
And that was exactly what the Saigon Jokers needed. Yes, it took a little bit too long of the window that they do sacrifice a single Nexus tower, but they stave off INTZ and buy more time for their 2 inhibitors to come back up.
Definitely a few more fights like that, and they may be able to balance this game out once again. INTZ remain with a massive lead, still at 11K in their favor, but Saigon Jokers making some moves in the right direction. And really just confident play from them, despite falling so far behind. You said that they had to fight, and they made it happen.
Big important thing is that the mid inhibitor has come back up, so they're just dealing with that Baron inhibitor on the opposite side of the map. Teleport is available, so the Saigon Jokers still have some options in stalling this game out.
Yeah, of course, Baron is Vivo, so ready to take that one any moment.
In China, it's long.
Nice.
Yep.
I feel like we should always spectate in other language of clients. I feel like it makes things that we normally see much more special. I feel like I'm much more excited about Baron being Vivo.
I think that just means live.
I think it does too. I mean, clearly it does, right? That's the translation, but it's special to me.
I wasn't going to call you out. But
yeah, not my finest moment there.
Well done, sir.
Pushing in, of course. INTZ just sending the attention around that Baron, as you said. That is the Baron inhibitor on the bottom side of the map. Now a little bit more pressure here. Road does have TP, is relatively safe. Saigon Jokers, though, still have to play pretty far back. Trying to recover. I'm not feeling very Vivo right now.
It's okay. Here we go, though. We've got Ro on the bottom side of the map. Like you said, trying to stave off the super creep wave, waiting for that inhibitor to come up, does have the TP. So right now, INTZ are just trying to get him to burn it or to find a massive pick. Once they have that, then the game is completely in their control. Without
a doubt. So really just a single misstep from Saigon Jokers is all it will take to end this game in the favor of INTZ. But it may be the misstep from Revolta that costs INTZ here as they start to push forward. Moving in, Revolta going to drop. They're still looking for the team fight anyway. INTZ just do not care as they start to push in. TP from Maokai on the backside. Talkers is going to have to respect that one. So is Macau, but he's all alone with those 2 carries, and his health bar is getting ripped down. Poppy just will not drop. She is simply too tanky. Maokai getting dropped out. No, Saigon Jokers, despite finding the pick, it's just not enough. INTZ are too far ahead. Gragas, get out of the base. It belongs to INTZ now as they look poised to end this game.
Talkers, where have you been this entire tournament? That's the performance that we expect. I talked to all the Brazilian experts. They're like, yeah, Talkers can step up. He can carry. He's incredibly flexible, massive champion pool. And frankly, he was a bit of a disappointment for me coming into IWC. But that last team fight, that Azir performance, that's what I expected.
Well, you get the Azir performance, and now INTZ are going to get the win as well. A great way to close out their regular stage performance here to move into brackets. But with this, there are going to be 2 tiebreakers. INTZ winning this means Supermassive and Hard Random have to go head-to-head. So 2 possible tiebreakers. So the tiebreaker we're going to see is Supermassive versus Hard Random, and the winner will play INTZ. So
INTZ come back swinging. Again, we talked about this over and over. This is what we expect from Brazil. An established wildcard region. They've been one of the strongest regions alongside Turkey. We continually see them execute and get to perform at the international level at MSI and Worlds, and it's nice to finally see INTZ get their shot to represent their region.
And it's, I mean, excellent play from the team as a whole, and really just huge show of confidence there, especially in that last fight. I mean, almost never do we see teams willingly take 4v5 engages, especially with Revolta dropping so early, but made it work, and that was entirely, as you said, on the back of Talkers. Like, the man stepped up on Azir, positioned, they respected the Maokai team fight, or TP. They didn't get over aggressive. Not Vivo.
Not Vivo. No, and the big thing was the fact that Revolta did his job. He was the early game bridge for the late game composition from INTZ, and he got Talkers to that point where he just gets to walk into those team fights and to be a god. And great job on Talkers to finally step up and say, like, I'm worth putting on a carry champion like Azir. I can neutralize lanes. I can play different flexible styles, but I can also step up and be that hard carry come late game, because great positioning from him.
Yeah, overall, and I think, I mean, they have to be feeling good after that one. It's just such a confident win from INTZ, once again performing where a lot of people expected them to, and where they kind of falled flat in the first couple days.
A little slow to the punch from the tournament standard, but INTZ finally showed up. Okay, this is what we expected.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, if they continue to perform like this, they're very well positioned to do well in the bracket stage. We'll have to see how they fare in the best of 5 overall. Of course, tiebreakers coming in are going to decide a lot about seeding here at the top. The bottom of the table has been figured out for us here to end the day, or to start to look towards the end of the day here in the regular stage. But the top is very messy. So many teams that we thought at the beginning of the tournament, Hard Random would be at the top. They would without a doubt be the first place team, and now it's looking a lot closer.
But the thing is, at the start of the tournament, like once we saw Hard Random play, okay, these guys, they came to play. They're performing really well. No no surprise that they continue day after day to perform. But coming into the tournament, I don't think anyone really expected SIS or CIS to perform as well as they did. Everyone says, okay, Brazil, Turkey, even Japan's looking really strong. No one's talking about CIS and them coming out of nowhere and just dominating
And
people.
to be fair, they really should be. They're a team that is very quickly, or a region actually as a whole, that's very quickly making a name for themselves, so they continue to do incredibly well on the international wildcard stage, going to IWCA, of course. Kira, that 1v1 sort of master, I mean, he performed admirably, and I think that as they move forward, they're going to continue to grow as a region, and they just have to keep it up. Whereas, I mean, Japan's fallen a little bit flat. Brazil is struggling to make an impact, and Hard Random don't ever seem to struggle with those same problems.
Slow start, strong finishes across the board, but this is what's super exciting about kind of round-robin style of play like this.
Yeah, of course, we are going to have a few more games today. Tiebreakers to sort out, and we'll be right back with those after a quick break.